to one and all, and welcome to the second day of the 9th edition of Frame of Mind and the first virtual one. I'm sure you'll all agree, those of you who were present yesterday, that we had a wonderful panel discussion which was both interesting and enlightening on dementia. And we also had quite a few number of short films that we watched. And today, in the second day, we are waiting to watch a few more short films which were part of the contest entries. And that will be followed by a panel discussion, and which will be followed by the much awaited valedictory function when the prizes will be announced by our chief guest. And as a reminder that we are on a virtual festival, and as a reminder of the times, the pandemic times that we are living in, we will begin the program with another short film called Back from the Future, which it did not qualify for the contest because of its length, but it was very interesting to watch, and we thought it should be screened for all of you to enjoy. Let's now watch Back from the Future.
Ouch! Listen, what's happening? Shit, sorry. So, मैं तुम, but from May. From May? Yeah, May of 2020. Wait, so just 5 months into the future? Wait, that can't be right. Has it really just been 5 months? 5 months for what? 2020. Yeah, okay. Shit. Wow. Listen, self, did something happen in the future? Oh yeah, that CA NRC thing, right? What? That bill, things are going really crazy around here. There are protests everywhere. The nation's come to a stop. Oh yeah. Wait, so that also happened in 2020? It's happening right now. That's all that people are talking about. It's pretty much going to define 2020. No, it doesn't. So do people come to an agreement? No. Okay, so? It just sort of goes away. Oh god. It's no longer a priority per se. Okay. So are you here to warn me about Australia being in ashes? What, the cricket match? No man, the Australian fires. The Australian fires. Fires. The entire nation's been on fire for months. Even the celebrities are starting to notice. Oh yeah, that. Wait, I'd forgotten about that. So that also happened this year. This year? It's happening right now and it's terrible. Look, don't worry about it. What? Yeah, it's the least of our worries right now. Oh. I get it. You do? Yeah, I mean, if you're here, then it's obvious. Exactly, right? I mean, how did we not see it coming? So that defines 2020. Oh yeah, big time. Wow. I can't believe kids will have to mug this up for a silly fill in the blank for a couple of marks. 2020, the year of World War III. Wait, what? So no World War III? No. Well, there's some serious tension between US and Iran right now, so it just seemed plausible. But US and Iran are technically fighting, but not each other. Okay, so who are they fighting and who's winning? No one really. Unfortunately, they're both losing. Okay, so it's not World War III, so that's a good thing, right? And a part of me would have preferred that if I had a choice. But don't judge. Fine, won't judge. But at least tell me what happened, who are they fighting, why are they fighting, and what do you need me to do? Well, I obviously can't tell you. Haven't you seen Avengers Endgame? There's only one thing that Doctor Strange doesn't do. Listen, I know you think that beard makes you look like Doctor Strange, but it's just strange. Anyway, why are you even here? Because I was missing this life. Missing this life. Yeah. Who was that? Just some friends. They want to meet, but I'm honestly not feeling it, so don't worry about it. Listen, don't be an idiot, okay? You have to go and hang out with them. Okay, chill. And maybe watch some Irfan Khan films. Okay, any in particular? The good ones. Like, all of them, actually. Okay. I get it. I really do. Is there anything else that I need to be doing for my future? Let's see. Maybe buy some sanitizers, some N95 industry grade face masks. Also, maybe get some air, go out, have some pani puri that you really like. Also, look into who owns Ludo King and invest in their shares. Just basic, normal, everyday things. Look, I'm not sure if I can do all of those things. Or even most of those things. Because we're leaving for the UK in a couple of weeks and I have a lot of packing to do. And I was also hoping to spend some time at home. You will get to spend time at home, trust me. Huh? Actually, since you're traveling, why not just get a return ticket? It'll be cheaper than like the one way. Or what you can do is just maybe cancel it. Cancel your trip. No, listen, man. You're here. This is already too crazy. Just tell me what happens. Look, for obvious Christopher Nolan film reasons, I can't tell you like the main thing that happened, but I can give you some juicy side gossip if you want. Alright. Tell me. There's aliens. And also like a parallel universe where time runs backwards. Oh my god! Shit! No way. Yep. Well, then what happens? Nothing really happens. Like, no one really cares or like pays much attention to it. What? Yeah. Why? Oh, hey guys. I'm from October 2020. Just thought I'd come down here and see you guys. Oh, hi. I was just telling January out here how COVID-19 becomes literally everything this year will ever be known for. No, like, it doesn't define 2020? Oh no, not even a little bit.
So that was Back from the Future. And we now move on to view some of the contest entries that were part of the films that the jury viewed. And I would invite all of you to please post your comments in the chat box. Yeah, we can have the short film screening one after the other.
லாக்டவுன்ல உனக்கும் உன் அப்பாவுக்கும் சமைச்சு போடதான் என்ன உனக்கு கல்யாணம் பண்ணி வச்சாங்களா?
சும்மா இரு, நை நைன்னு கத்தினே இருக்காத. பேசாம இரு, வயசாயிடுச்சு அவருக்கு.
அவர் என்ன சாதிக்க போறாரு? அவர் இருக்கிறதே பூமிக்கு பாரம் தான். போய் செத்தல.
எது சாவ சொல்றியா?
நீ மட்டும் எதுக்கு நீயும் போய் சேர்ந்து
அவருக்கு வயசாச்சுடி. இப்பெல்லாம் பேசாதடி.
நம்ம தெருவுல பிச்சை எடுக்கலாம்.
ஓடி நீ போய் எடுறி.
ஹலோ, எப்படி இருக்கீங்க?
நல்லா இருக்கேன். நம்ம பையன் எப்படி இருக்கான்?
எங்கங்க இந்த லாக்டவுன் போட்டதுல இருந்து உங்க பையன் பாடா படுத்துறான். பத்தாத்துக்கு உங்க அப்பா அம்மா கிட்ட வேற சேட்டை பண்றான். அவங்க என்கிட்ட ஓவரா கோச்சிக்கிறாங்கங்க. கார்த்திக் கையிடு. அப்பா கிட்ட பேசிக்கிட்டு இருக்கேன்ல, சொன்னா கேளு. போனை விடு.
போன குடு.
என்னடா இப்படி சேட்டை பண்ற? யோய் முடி தாங்கல. என்ன வேணும் உனக்கு?
போன குடு.
ஏங்க இவன் கத்திக்கிட்டே இருக்கான், என்னன்னு கொஞ்சம் போய் பாருங்களேன்.
போன குடு.
பாருங்க எப்படி பண்றோம். ரொம்ப டார்ச்சரா இருக்கு.
பத்திரமா பாத்துக்கோடி.
பாத்துட்டு தானே இருக்கீங்க, எவ்வளவு படுத்துறான் பாருங்க. டெய்லி இப்படிதாங்க ராவடி பண்றான்.
மில்ட்ரி வளர வளர சரியாயிடுவான்.
ஏதாவது ஒரு பிரச்சனை பண்ணிக்கிட்டே இருக்கான்.
என்ன பண்றான்?
கீழே வேற போய் சேட்டை பண்ணிட்டு தாத்தா பாட்டியை ரொம்ப டார்ச்சர்
மில்ட்ரி
பண்றான்.
சின்ன பையன் தானே, அதை அவங்க புரிஞ்சுப்பாங்க.
హలో
హలో
ఊరు మాట్లాడేది. హలో
హలో
ఏమి నువ్వు తెల్లారి లేచి ఊరికి ఫోన్ చేస్తా ఉంటావు? నీకు వేరే పనియా లేదా నీకే?
இல்ல
హలో
హలో
దయచేసి ఫోన్ పెట్టుమాను.
ఫోన్ పెట్టుమనువా?
ஹலோ,
ஹலோ அங்கிள்,
who is this?
உங்க பேர் என்ன? இது யாரு?
Where is your mom?
என்ன பண்றீங்க?
You are not allowed to call this number.
அங்கிள், உங்க பேர் என்னது?
Shit.
ఉండు. ఉండు. అమ్మా అయ్యో అమ్మా ఈ దైవమే వందర్రా వందర్. అయ్యో అమ్మా. நிம்மதியா வாழத்தான் விடல, சாகவும் விட மாட்டீங்களா?
ஹலோ யார் நீங்க? ஹலோ
ஹலோ தூங்கிட்டான் போல.
ஹலோ
ஹலோ
மோகன் தாத்தா,
India has announced it is banning all flights from midnight.
Australians overseas are this morning scrambling to come home as authorities prepare to shut the country's borders in just over 12 hours' time.
As the Indian Minister for External Affairs said, extraordinary times call for extraordinary measures.
For the first time in a century, the Queensland border is closed.
We have seen Qantas cut back 90% of their international routes.
Growing unemployment has quickly exposed the plight of overseas students, many of them jobless, owing rent and thousands in tuition fees. As Tom Saker reports, they've been among the first to lose their casual jobs, but aren't in line for government support.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम मम्मी, आप कैसी हैं? हाँ, वो कह रहे हैं कि अब आप अपने अपने मुल्क वापस चले जाएं क्योंकि वो यहाँ पे बॉर्डर्स बंद कर रहे हैं। जी अम्मी, आप ठीक कह रही हैं, बट लेकिन पाकिस्तान में भी तो अपने बॉर्डर बंद किए हुए हैं। आप रुकिए, मैं दोबारा चेक करता हूँ। नहीं अम्मी, ये कह रहे हैं कि द बॉर्डर्स माइट टेक 1 year
or it can take 6 মাস or সারা জীবন। I don't know. Although ও বাংলাদেশে থাকা এখান থেকে বেটার ছিল।
I can understand your pain, sir. I know this is an inconvenience.
So if there are no refunds available,
Can I at least get like another flight?
No, sir. Sorry.
Are there any other flights that are scheduled to leave?
There are no flights available, sir. Borders are closed for most countries. Sir, border के उस पार कोई जा ही नहीं सकता. You cannot cross the border, sir. I'm really sorry.
I guess we are stuck.
But we don't have to be.
Welcome to COVID Care Center. This is Nupur. How may I help you?
Ma'am, my husband is having dry cough. Do you think it's COVID?
For how long?
Since yesterday.
Any other symptoms?
No, not yet.
It's not COVID. Don't worry.
Don't worry. Do you know what I am going through? I can't sleep well. Always under stress. And now I am very much worried about my husband.
I can understand, but relax. Don't worry. It won't help you.
I am sorry being so rude. I know you are not responsible for it.
It's okay, Sudha. We are getting many calls like yours, and most of them are anxious and confused.
I am worried too. Whenever I step out of home, I feel like I will get infected.
You should take precautions by covering your nose and mouth with a mask, use sanitizers, and maintain social distance. Also, it's extremely important to keep washing your hands regularly.
I always do that. But so many people are not following it. It's sad that people are not taking it seriously. I saw it in news that COVID spreads through so many ways.
Don't watch too much news. They spread more lies than facts. Only trust news from WHO or any other official website.
But my relative sent me a WhatsApp message of WHO which said that if we take steam every day, virus will be dead.
These WhatsApp messages are funnier than jokes. Don't take them seriously. Always visit the official websites to get correct information or consult with your doctor.
Really? I get 10 different messages about corona on WhatsApp. One was telling me not to eat chicken. Keep eating raw onion again and again.
That's stupid. You can eat chicken. In fact, keep eating normal home cooked food. It's good for health. Avoid eating junk food.
I am cooking at home only. But I miss going to hotels like before.
Avoid till there is a cure. And even if you do go out, please follow all the social distancing norms.
I can avoid it. But my daughter, she is getting so bored in house. No school, no friends, not going anywhere, only at home.
Same here. I have a son who is going through the same. But you know what? Me or my husband are always there with him, to play with him, to listen to him. We have explained to him that the situation is difficult and is just for some time, and then everything will be normal again.
Yes, we will explain her. She is a good kid. I am also tired of all this. Not meeting my friends, no parties, no outing, no celebrations.
It's completely natural. Nobody wants to live like this. Remember to stay in touch with your friends and family through video calls. Take this as an opportunity to learn something new or do something new. It will bring you happiness.
I always wanted to learn yoga. Maybe this is right time to learn it. I will ask my husband also. You know what? He doesn't tell me. But he is also worried about our home loan and overall situation.
Everyone is worried, but worry won't help you. We have to cope up with this once in a century situation. You are not alone.
But what if anyone in my family get infected by corona?
You will have to treat them as per your doctor's advice and prepare yourself mentally before physically. And don't worry. Statistically speaking, the recovery rate is high.
But ma'am, when will scientists find cure for corona?
Not sure when. It's not in my hand. But what is in my hand, in your hand, is to remain positive and follow all the norms. And this too shall pass.
Thanks, ma'am. How come you are so positive?
Simple. I take care of my mental health just like my physical health. And I take it one day at a time.
And one day this pandemic will be over. Thank you.
গত কয়েকদিন ধরেই সরকার, শ্রমিক ইউনিয়ন এবং গার্মেন্টস মালিকদের ত্রিপক্ষীয় বৈঠক চলছে। ঈদের আগে শ্রমিকদের বোনাসসহ বেতন দেওয়া নিয়ে আছে সংশয়।
মা কও
কই এখন?
রহমত চাচার বাসাতে আসলাম। চাচার বাড়ির সবাই করোনার ডরে দেশে চলে গেছে।
বাড়িওয়ালা ফোন দিচ্ছিল আর?
বাড়িওয়ালা তো ফোন দিয়াই যাইতেছে।
কি করবি এখন?
কাইটটা দিছি ফোন। ঈদের বোনাস সহ বেতনটা পাইলেই দিয়া দিমু।
বেতন পাইবি কবে? 2 দিন পর তো ঈদ।
কাল টাকা দিব কইছে। আচ্ছা মা, রাখো। কেডা মা?
না আপা, মই কুলসুম।
ও কুলসুম, ক।
আপা, মই তেনে লাল হিল আর লাল জামান।
হ আনমুনি, মারে দে।
মা, আপা।
হ মা, কও।
আইজ বেতন দিছে মালিকে?
না মা, কাইল দিব।
কাল দিন পর তো ঈদ, বাড়ি আইবি না?
কালকে টাকা নিয়েই রওনা দিমু।
সেমাই চিনি কিনে আনিস। দোকানে কইছে আর বাকি দিব না। তোর বাপের ওষুধও শেষ।
আচ্ছা মা, রাখো।
বিলকিস, ও বিলকিস, বিলকিস, ও বিলকিস, কথা কস না কেন? বেতন দেয় নাই?
কারখানায় গন্ডগোল লাগছে, দিব না বেতন।
বাড়ি আইবি না তুই? বিলকিস, ও বিল বেতন পাইবি কবে?
লাল হিল আর লাল জামান বে।
তোর বাপের ওষুধও শেষ।
মা, কও।
Bueno, Carlos, ¿cómo te encuentras hoy? ¿Qué tal lo vas llevando?
Pues no muy bien, la verdad.
¿Y eso? Esta semana parecías estar más animado. ¿Qué ha cambiado?
Bueno, ya sabe, no estaba ya con mi pareja y tal, y bueno, esta inseguridad, en fin, que he perdido el trabajo también.
Vaya, lamento oír eso. ¿Por qué crees que ha pasado eso, Carlos? ¿Qué relación crees que hay?
No sé, me siento muy inseguro de un tiempo a esta parte. Lo he pasado mal y no sé, no me siento capaz de muchas cosas. Siento que todo va de mal en peor y no sé, no veo cuándo va a empezar esto a remontar.
Esa inseguridad de la que me hablas, es normal sentirse inseguros, pero también es cierto que a veces tenemos una extraña necesidad de autosabotearnos y somos nosotros mismos los que hacemos que todo vaya peor. Esos agujeros que la vida te va haciendo Están ahí, forman parte de ti y puede que nunca vayan a cerrarse. Pero tampoco es necesario que los estés mostrando continuamente o cuando conoces a alguien nuevo, por ejemplo. Porque de este modo te pones en una situación vulnerable. Tú mismo estás mostrando y a veces aumentando defectos que tú crees que tienes. Si quieres mantener tu trabajo y que las cosas mejoren, tienes que empezar a venderte un poquito mejor. No sé si me sigues. Tienes que quererte más y así los demás empezarán a quererte.
Ya, la verdad es que estoy bastante harto. Desde que me separé de mi pareja estuve en otro trabajo, pero tampoco era para mí. Me trataban como un trapo, ¿sabe? Y estoy harto de que me traten como un trapo. No quiero ser eso.
Pues precisamente a eso me refiero. Bueno, y por lo demás, ¿qué tal? ¿Te cuidas? ¿Haces ejercicio?
No, lo cierto es que no estoy saliendo nada. Y ciertamente sí que me siento encerrado. Supongo que aunque no tengamos muchas ganas, a veces necesitamos salir de vez en cuando del cajón, ¿no? Sí que echo de menos cosas. No solo el ejercicio, también ir a pasear, me sentía bien.
¿Y por qué no lo sigues haciendo? La mejor manera de salir de este bucle de sentirse mal es hacer algo, cualquier cosa. Un primer paso siempre es necesario, aunque no te apetezca.
Ya, no me siento con fuerzas. La verdad es que últimamente siento que solo me queda resignarme y ser el trapo que el mundo quiere que sea.
Vaya, es duro escuchar eso. Mira, te voy a proponer una cosa. No deberías de rendirte sin haberlo intentado todo, y aún quedan cosas por probar. Quiero que salgas y que conozcas a alguien, sin ningún tipo de pretensión. No se trata de intentar ligar ni nada, solo conocer a alguien. No lo fuerces, ¿vale? Solo saluda, preséntate, les dices que has salido a pasear, que querías charlar con alguien un rato. Interésate por lo que quieran contarte y trata de no sacar tus defectos a la primera de cambio, ¿vale? No es lo más importante de ti ni lo que te define, ¿verdad? Eres mucho más que un trapo lleno de agujeros, ¿no?
Sí, creo que puedo hacerlo.
Pues claro que puedes. ¿Qué no eres?
Un trapo lleno de agujeros.
¿Y qué eres?
Un calcetín desparejado.
No.
No, es verdad. Soy un calcetín.
Exacto. Y lo que piensen los demás no importa, ¿vale? Vas a salir, vas a conocer a alguien y te vas a comer el mundo. Bueno, no ha sido para tanto, ¿no? Veo que no te ha ido mal.
Pues la verdad es que no. Me siento como un calcetín nuevo. Los tomates hacen que cada día se sienta como una ensalada.
I'm sure all of you have enjoyed watching these short films. I can see that from the comments that I'm reading in the chat box, a lot of people have found the films very interesting, and I think that is a great feedback for those children, those young people who have sent in their entries. We now move on to the panel discussion, but I think there is a little bit of a delay because a couple of the panelists are yet to join. So while we wait for them, I would like to hear from Dr. Rangarajan and Dr. Jaya Sridhar, their comments on the films that they watched just now.
I'll ask Dr. Rangarajan to go first because my audio was going and coming. Thank you.
Yes, Dr. Jaya. Rangarajan, I'm not able to hear you. Okay, while we wait for Dr. Rangarajan to come back into the session, I think I will take this time to introduce the panelists for the day. Thank you, Dr. Jaya. I think you were the first person I approached for this panel, and you readily agreed to be with us. And Dr. Jaya, all of you know her as I think people would have seen you as an actor. They know you as a very popular writer, and she's now a teacher who trains journalists in reporting, in the nuances of reporting, and she's also associated with the SCARF Media Awards, and also one of our mentors for the mental health course, reporting course that we run for journalists as part of the Essence project. Thank you, Dr. Jaya. Thank you for being here. But the reason why she is on this panel today, for her role as a censor board member. So she is going to share her experiences from that and how that can have a role in the way mental health is being portrayed in movies. Thank you, Dr. Jaya, once again.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you. Dr. Rangarajan doesn't need any introduction, and he's a very popular psychiatrist. He's a consultant psychiatrist and is one of the directors of the SciMed hospitals in Chennai, and someone who comes very often on TV and is a very popular person in the media. Yes, we have Lakshmi Ramakrishnan here. Again, she doesn't need any introduction to the audience. We had a wonderful session. We had a wonderful discussion on her movie yesterday. And today, she is going to help us understand why the mental health professionals are depicted in the way they are in current cinema. Thank you, Lakshmi ma'am, for joining us. While we wait for the other two panelists, unfortunately, Vinodini was not able to join us today. She's traveling at the moment, and so she is not able to join us. So while Vetrimaran and Mr. Kebal Shankar join us, I think we will go ahead and start the discussion. I think you're all familiar with the topic. We are going to talk about the recent portrayal of mental health professionals in cinema. If we track the way mental health has been portrayed in Tamil cinema, Dr. Jaya, I will take the liberty of choosing a film from your father, Pennin Perumai, where he plays the protagonist, a person who has a mental health condition, again, undiagnosed till date. But unfortunately, though the movie was technically, scientifically not appropriate to say, mental health was not shown very well, but at least the protagonist was shown to recover, and he, of course, not with treatment, but with excellent, tender, loving care from his wife. And he was shown as someone who was intelligent, who was compassionate, who was loving, and who also had a clear thought process with which he could make decisions in life. And it gave a kind of hope, like mental illness is not something, of course, mental illness was not the primary theme of that film anyway, but still at least it was not shown in a bad way then. I think prior to that, mental health issues were generally used for comic relief or a character that was used to evoke sympathy in the viewer. So beyond that, there was no major role for persons with mental health problems or psychiatrists. And I think the oldest psychiatrist that I can recall is the loving old grand psychiatrist in Navaratri. And after that, I think psychiatrists have gradually evolved, and then they were henchmen of the villains in the film, administering ECT to anyone who was coming in the way of the villains. And then we had eccentric psychiatrists like funny but still eccentric, the ones we saw in Tenali. And I think there was Urvashi played the psychiatrist in a film by S.J. Surya. I don't remember the name of the film, but then a very odd, eccentric caricature of a psychiatrist. All that was fine. But as we come to recent times, now the psychiatrists and mental health professionals have become killers. They have become murderers with very devious motives, and that I think is a very disturbing situation which we need to really talk about. Lakshmi ma'am, I think I will start with you. What do you think is the reason that there is such a increasing interest in this theme in filmmakers in recent times?
முதல்ல என்ன பேச வச்சு மாட்டி விடுறீங்க டாக்டர். I'm already famous for being a whistleblower.
No, I think you have every right to answer this question, because of all the films that you have made, I think you have portrayed mental health in the best possible way and the most realistic way. I think we have discussed enough about the latest film yesterday, and Arohanam, which was supposed to be your first film, it was a wonderful depiction of bipolar disorder, and I don't think we have any other movie in regional cinema now to say that bipolar disorder has been shown well. I mean, for someone to understand bipolar by looking at a movie. So that way, I think you have earned the eligibility to answer this question.
Thank you so much. So let me take the liberty to comment. See, what I feel is people want excitement. Okay. So when it comes to mental issues and mental health professionals, there seems to be some mystery around all this, because there is not too much of awareness. There is so much of, unknown factors. So it's mystery. So it suits the role of a villain so well. And then when you conceptualize, there is a lot of scope to play around these characters. As such, a mental health professional, if you take, so it's something involving your mind. So being a writer, I can understand why directors pick up such characters, because it's very fascinating, it's mysterious, it is exciting, and it is, people have done with all the human stuff. They want superhuman, they want, now Pei Pisasu is also done. So much, people are not afraid of Pei and Pisasu. It's been overdone.
Yeah.
So they need more excitement, so they catch hold of this. That's the reason I feel nowadays people are getting into this plane. And doctor, that's my straight answer for you.
Actually, now they are combining the psychiatrist and the psychologist or any mental health professional and the supernatural beings, whatever they are. So now that's a deadly combination. We have dead psychiatrists coming on a killing spree, arranging for people to die. I think that was the theme in the movie Andhakaram that was released recently. Dr. Rangarajan, I think you will completely agree with me when I say that patients and families, they come and report feeling distressed when they see some portrayals of mental illnesses or mental health issues in some of the films. Because I remember one of my patients who has bipolar disorder was very distressed by the portrayal of bipolar or the description that the psychiatrist gives in the recent film. What is that? I forgot the name of the film.
Neerkonda Parvai.
Neerkonda Parvai, yes. And he felt that people were coming and asking him, I mean, do you get that violence, since you have bipolar disorder? So this boy started feeling very, very bad about revealing his condition to his friends. So he felt like everybody was looking at him in a different way, and they asked him, like, do you also get angry like this? So do you need more people to control you? So in case this happens, what do we do? So these are some of the questions that he had to face. What was very important was these were the words that described the character in the through the character of the psychiatrist. So what is your experience with this, Dr. Rangarajan?
Well, I mean, I've very often when somebody asks me something, I said, you know what? I get more angry than you can ever be. You know, anger has got nothing to do with your bipolar disorder or the lack of it or the presence of it. Anger is anger. And if you see me getting angry, I'm sure I will sound more disturbed than any of my patients can ever be. More disturbing, I'm sure. So this is one thing. I've also had once one lady asking me, Doctor, Ninga, you will not take money from some enemies and then make my son mad, will you? You know, this kind of a thing. And the serial la katramari and the cinema la katramari, you're not going to make me and my son some very crazy guy, isn't it? You will treat him properly. Whatever money they give you, I will give you more than that. You know, that kind of talk. See, people get into these kind of attitudes, you know, by all these portrayals. I think, you know, I mean, if I can add something, you know, about portraying a psychiatrist in a movie. I think, see, like everybody else who's so-called in positions of reasonably powerful state, like, you know, like the police and the politicians, like senior executives, doctors, psychiatrists are all supposedly in a more powerful position than the people they deal with.
Yes.
So I think we are fair game. You can go ahead and make fun of us. Make a caricature of a psychiatrist, like the psychiatrist who could actually read the minds of people in a movie. This is a comedy, isn't it? I mean, Rajinikanth in his Chandramukhi could actually read minds.
That was not a comedy, if you ask me. I think it made a lot of us
It's
very
a caricature.
uncomfortable.
I would.
Because patients had that feeling they were not willing to talk. In fact, I think many of us have had experiences of being challenged by the patient. You're the psychiatrist, so you find out what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
We are only psychiatrists. We are not Rajinikanth.
Exactly. That's what I say also. Rajinikanth can read minds. Psychiatrists can't read minds. You know, that's fine. And Rajinikanth was reading Vadivelu's mind and say, beautiful comedy, it's fun. But the reality, nothing like that ever happens. You see, as a psychiatrist, I'm only as good as what my patient tells me. Only if I get more and more info from my patients and the family, I'm going to be of any use to anybody. And my practice will be good. My therapy or my treatment process or whatever medicines I decide, anything is going to be only as good as how much the person on the other side of the table tells me. I am not an investigator. I'm not a policeman. I'm not here to kind of, you know, ask cross questions and, you know, twisted ways of interviewing to. That's not the idea of a psychiatrist at all. It's so sad. People come up with this idea, giving psychiatrists enormous power. God, I tell you, I wish I had such powers. You know, I would use it in other zones, not in psychiatry.
Yes. I will come back to you with a question on psychologists soon, but I think Mr. Vetrimaran has joined us. And good evening, sir, and welcome to.
Good evening.
Thank you very much for accepting to be here. And I'm not going to waste time introducing you because I don't think there is a need for that. And congratulations on your latest movie that got released yesterday. And I heard it is doing really well. It was well received. We are discussing about the portrayal of mental health professionals in regional cinema. If you can think of these movies, Penguin or Andhakaram or Mayavan, or the Malayalam movies Forensic, Anjam Pathiram and Adiran. I think the common theme in all of these, most of these films, if not in Penguin, is murder for revenge. So where does the need for introducing a mental health professional actually come there? Does the story actually demand it?
See, I haven't watched films,
Okay.
but I know I have an issue with your title itself. Why do you want to call it? When you say that mental health professionals, portrayal of mental health professionals in regional cinema, does it mean that Hindi has the right representation of mental health professionals, or internationally you have right representation of mental health professionals? I personally feel that there has never been a good exact representation of a mental health professional ever in any cinema. That's what I feel.
Yes.
You either okay. Now I'll go to it, but I'll come back to the question that you mentioned. See, I feel I've not watched the films, none of the films. I have to catch up on them. But I feel having a mental health professional there, either a psychiatrist or a psychologist, someone saying something is a tool, a lame tool of a scriptwriter to convince someone, to convince the audience about the motive of the murderer. And especially when it becomes a serial killing thing, we need someone to tell what to expect and what not to expect. They are being used as a tool by the scriptwriter and giving very less credits to the profession itself.
Actually, what happens here is, in all these films, the killers happen to be psychologists or psychiatrists themselves, and they are doing this by using training, the expertise that they have gained by training, to manipulate other people and either kill themselves or kill others. So now that becomes a little scary to watch. Dr. Rangarajan, I think, can you shed some light on, do mental health professionals, are they better equipped than others in managing their emotions? Is it very common for them to go on these kind of behaviors?
Okay, I mean, mental health professionals are also usual human beings with as much of normalcy or abnormalcy in them. And they are also prone to mood disturbances, emotional difficulties, bad behaviors, good behaviors, everything. Yes. But as a part of our training, one of the things we go through is to learn to identify our own feelings, to understand how we are feeling. Like for instance, when I actually joined psychiatry, my first 2 months was so horrible that I actually lost 10 kilos weight because I could not actually understand what was happening, where my role as a doctor stopped. I was wondering whether I was being a good human being or not. It was so frightening in the beginning. And if I had been allowed to practice at that time, I'm sure I would have damaged many people. But part of the training, I learned to cope with that feeling and get beyond that and be able to understand what's happening with my patient across the table. I mean, some professionals would like to call him client. I'm a doctor. I prefer to still call him patient. I learned to understand that. I learned to understand his emotions, his way of expressing things. I learned to understand my reactions to what was happening there. You know, my emotional reactions and my intellectual reactions. And what is important is I need to be intellectually available, supposed to be.
I think we are not getting your audio clearly.
It's breaking.
It's breaking, yeah. Dr. Rangarajan, we are not able to hear you. Oh, he is not able to hear us either. Okay. Okay. Dr. Jaya, I think I'll move on to you. In one of the films that I was mentioning a little while ago, there is a reference to the use of a sedative. I mean, it's a non-benzodiazepine, zolpidem, in an injectable form. And an antihypertensive molecule is mentioned as the antidote, no, for that overdosage, and or not overdosage. I think it counteracts the effects of the molecule. So when you work in the censor board, so do you allow these kind of issues to be allowed? I mean, mentioning specific drugs, especially, I think Dr. Rangarajan will agree that we are not even sure if zolpidem is available as an injectable form in this country, and I don't think anybody uses it in regular practice as well. It was shown more as a drug of abuse in the film, apparently. So, Dr. Jaya, I would like to hear it from you.
Sure. First, let me say a huge thank you to SCARF for inviting me to be part of this panel. It's a great pleasure to share the stage with so many eminent personalities of whom I'm a huge admirer. So thank you. And I think the discussion is really interesting. See, when you try to certify the film, the duty of the people sitting on the certification board is to try and make sure that there is no major, medical misrepresentation of facts or a gross distortion that can mislead people to harm their own health, or to mislead policymakers on a large scale, or to promote stigma against people with mental illness. So, we used to have discussions around, is it even fair to, bandy around a term like a very commonly used term like loose as a pejorative, Yeah. So, we try to minimize those kinds of things as much as possible. But many things slip through because each certification board that sits is different, composed of different members with varying levels of expertise. So it depends on who is sitting there at that point in time looking at this particular film. So in the Mari Padam Varumbodu, they normally will call a couple of medical professionals who are part of the certification group. And then normally we trust them not to allow these things to filter through. But then it happens.
Okay. Yeah, I know it happens. Mr. Vetrimaran, I completely agree with what you said earlier, that there are bad representations of psychiatrists globally, absolutely no doubt. The reason why we are looking at the regional cinema is this is closer to home. And in COVID times, there is a raising awareness about mental health issues, and there is a increasing need for mental health services as well. So do you think movies can have an impact on the public attitude towards mental health?
Oh God, you can't hear him.
I think he is muted.
Yeah. I just unmuted.
Yeah.
Am I audible now?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So it could influence, but it should start the other way around, because filmmakers are part of the society, so they need to take their education from the society. So the awareness should start from the society. And what I've realized, what I've noticed in the past 10-12 years is some kind of mental health discussion is part of 1 in 10 or 1 in 5. The closest of all our families, our friends, our colleagues, our subordinates, our superiors. You'll definitely see someone who will need just a simple session of talking with a professional.
Yes.
Not just talking with friends over a drink or just with the girlfriend, boyfriend, wife, husband. They need to just talk it through with a professional. And that gives a lot of clarity to a lot of people. But then the acceptance and understanding of this is not in the society. And I think we need to start it from there only, I think. Then it will come into the films. Definitely, the filmmakers, when they are, I always try to understand, learn something about the field or the area where I make a film. So it is the filmmaker's responsibility also to ensure that if he or she is choosing an area to work on, we study that area and take some professional help from those involved in that area, and then try to do something. So that will help a lot. And I feel there are certain certain names of certain medications that has to be said, and there are certain things that need not be said.
Yes.
This is the responsibility of the filmmaker himself or herself. We don't need the censor board to tell us which to tell and which not to tell. If something is going to take away the life of someone, and we really don't need to tell the name. And I was talking to, when I did a short film now, and that short film has this kind of death through poisoning. And I spoke to a doctor, and he mentioned that one particular drug that you could just get at any place, any medical shop, and that doesn't even leave the place. Top sheet seems. I was like, what I say? Oh, I did not try to mention the name of it, and I just mentioned that there was a medicine that was given to this girl. That's all. I did not go beyond it. So that's the responsibility of the filmmaker. But in general, to put it, bringing back to the topic, I feel it is the society's responsibility to educate the filmmakers on not to look at mental health issues as a taboo anymore. There has always been so much of taboo, and as you mentioned, the word lucid is I wouldn't want to use such a term in my film. Like, if something we might use it out of insensitivity or by mistake. Otherwise, consciously it doesn't come in. So the நமக்கு இருக்கிற misconceptions and misunderstandings we need to get over it. அதுக்கு filmmakers need to be educated, and நம்மளும் ஒரு content எடுக்கிறோம், ஒரு script எடுக்கிறோம், we want to work in a particular area, we need to take expert help, not just say cinema தானே நம்ம ஓகே பண்ணலாம். என்னங்க நம்ம sometimes when we work as assistant directors, we keep saying இல்ல அது தப்பா இருக்கு சினிமா தானங்க எடுக்கிறோம், நம்ம என்ன இதுவா பண்றோம். we're not writing a thesis, it's just a film script. கொஞ்சம் லிபர்ட்டிஸ் எடுத்துக்கலாம், அது வரும். அந்த மாதிரி நிறைய பேசுவாங்க. These are things that should be avoided, I feel.
Yes, thank you very much. I think that artistic license is definitely there. You can stretch things a little beyond. I think all mental health professionals will agree there are bad doctors, there are bad psychiatrists and psychologists. We don't deny that. I think Dr. Rangarajam will definitely be able to talk more about the inadequate training and allowing quacks to practice in the country.
Yes.
Has strong views on that. So, but the issue is, if that is the only thing that gets highlighted in the films, then it can generalize it to the profession, and it is not a personal loss for the psychiatrist or the psychologist, but it is more the distress that a person who needs help will go through without seeking help. I think we have Mr. Kebal Shankar who has joined us. So welcome and thank you very much for joining us, sir. I think you need to unmute yourself. Mr. Kebal Shankar is a writer, and I have read most of his stories in Ananda Vigadan, and I'm a huge fan of his writing. He also is a writer, and he has I think he was part of the film Kalagalappu. He was one of the script writers for the film Kalagalappu, which was directed by Sundar C, and he has also made films on his own. And more than that, he's also a film critic, and that is the reason we want you here to discuss on this topic, sir. Sir, as a writer, you will definitely try to build upon the characters that you choose in your plot. So, how will you account for the need for mental health professionals in murder-related stories?
Generally, most of the people who write story about psychological problems and psychiatrical problems, they go by Google, basically. Most of the people go by Google and all that. They find something very few people do homework for getting the proper feeling of the particular patient or anybody else. So I don't think most of the people doesn't know the difference of psychiatric and psychologist, both of different things. Most of the people doesn't know about the thing. In general, cinema, very few people take in the nuances of the psychiatric problems, psychiatric things, and everything. And they go by in deep and discuss with the people how far they can able to show it in a cinema. That's a major thing. Very few people take the step of the initiative, but in general, for example, there are some few movies கொஞ்சம் பைத்தியக்காரமா இருக்காங்க அப்படின்னா why they are doing like this அப்படின்னு they don't have any establishment thing or what happened behind these things. இந்த மாதிரி விஷயங்களுக்கு எல்லாம் வந்து they don't have the detail thing. மேபி அது என்ன நினைப்பாங்கன்னா இதுக்கு மேல நம்ம சொன்னா போர் அடிக்கும் அப்படின்றதுக்காகவும் otherwise it will take advantage of the cinematic liberty that நம்ம இது வரைக்கும் காட்டினா போதும் அவன் பைத்தியம் இல்லை அவனுக்கு வந்து இந்த மாதிரி ப்ராப்ளம் இருக்கு அப்படின்னு. ஃபார் எக்ஸாம்பிள் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா இன்னொரு படம் சொல்லுவேன் வந்து ஆளவந்தான்ல இருக்கிற கமலஹாசனுடைய கேரக்டருடைய டெஃபினேஷன் இருக்கு இல்லையா, having a psychological problem. He has been affected by his past. அதுக்கு அவனுக்கான பாடி லாங்குவேஜ் அந்த மாதிரியான விஷயங்கள் எல்லாத்துக்குமே வந்து he goes in detail. அந்த டீடைல்ஸ் வந்து how far the people like that பார்க்கும்போது very few people go towards the nuances and all that. ஸோ அந்த இனிஷியேட்டிவ் வந்து எடுக்க வேண்டிய கட்டாயம் வந்து ஒவ்வொரு கிரியேட்டருக்கும் இருக்கு. கண்டிப்பா அதை வந்து இன்னும் சுவாரஸ்யமா சொல்றதுக்கான முயற்சி கண்டிப்பா பண்ணணும். அது பட் அது ஒரு டேக் தம் கிராண்டட் மாதிரி நிறைய பேர் பண்றாங்கிறது தான் ஒரு வருத்தமான விஷயம்.
Okay. Actually, in all the movies that we mentioned a little while ago, the social media reviews for all these films have been very good. All these films have been rated quite high, and they have impressed the audience very much. And it was probably it was more the technological betterment that people were looking at in that film, and it was probably very well received. But mental health and its portrayal doesn't come anywhere in those kind of reviews that I find in the social media. So how do you think it can be interpreted? Is it that people actually they didn't bother about the mental health portrayal in that film, or is it they also subscribed to those theories and so they just accepted it and moved on? What could be the reason?
The thing is, ஒரு கதையா இப்போ கோபிகிருஷ்ணனுடைய கதைகள் இருக்கு. கோபிகிருஷ்ணனுடைய கதைகள் வந்து நீங்க பாத்தீங்கன்னா அது வந்து ஒரு சைக்கலாஜிக்கலா அஃபெக்ட் ஆன ஒருத்தருடைய லைஃப் பத்தி பேசுற ஒரு கதைகள் இருக்கு, நாவல் இருக்குது, நிறைய சிறுகதைகள் இருக்கு. ஸோ அந்த கதைகள் படிக்கும்போது அந்த பர்டிகுலர் விஷயம் அவரே கிட்டத்தட்ட சில நாட்கள் அந்த மாதிரி இருந்ததுனால அந்த எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸுமே நிறைய விஷயங்களை வந்து ஒரு எழுத்தா கொண்டு வரும்போது இட்ஸ் பாசிபிலிட்டி ஆஃப் டூயிங் திஸ். ஃபார் எக்ஸாம்பிள் பேர்ட்மேன்ல இருக்கிற ஒரு கேரக்டர் டிஃபரன்ஸ், அவருடைய கேரக்டர் டிஃபரன்ஸ், இல்லை வந்து ஜோக்கர்ல இருக்கிற விஷயமும் இதுக்கான டீட்டெயிலிங் ஒர்க் பண்ணும்போது மேபி மோஸ்ட் ஆஃப் த டைம் அது வந்து இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட் இல்லாத விஷயமா போயிருமோன்னு ஒரு பயம் இருக்கு. ஏன்னா we are teaching this thing, we are teaching something which doesn't create any excitement அப்படின்ற விஷயமா இருக்கு. ஒரு ஆள் வந்து ஒரு சைக்கிக்கா இருக்கான் அப்படின்னா அதுக்கு வந்து நிறைய பேர் வேலை செய்வாங்க, ஏன் சைக்கிக்கா இருக்கான்ற ஒரு காரணம் சொல்றாங்க. பட் the person who is mentally having a problem, அது வந்து okay, if the person having a problem mentally means they have to go through the particular person's psychology, why he has become like that, and what is the thing behind this and all this. We have to work on it. Unless until it's not possible, because right now that I wrote a novel called Bermuda. In that novel that I dealt with three characters who are above 40 and they're having an affair with the young ladies. How far these things affects the what do you call that? Affects the psychologically how their life goes like that. These things that I met with the people, I talk to the people, and I go through the discussion with those people who are affected, and all. Then I wrote it about those things. 1 second.
Yes. Okay. Sir, I think there is a request for you to speak English because some of them are not able to follow.
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay. I'll come back to you, sir. Doctor, I'm sorry, Lakshmi ma'am, you have done your homework for all the movies that you have made on mental health. I would like to know, it's not that you took all the information from personal experience. So what is the homework that you do? Because I think that would be very pertinent, very relevant to any filmmaker who wants to touch upon a mental health issue in his film. So how do you gather your material and how do you work and process it?
See, basically, I feel awareness means a lot. Like I was aware of how serious I have to be when I portray a mental disorder on screen. For example, there was a dialogue where one character talks about the main character. She gets into a frenzy. So actually, I wrote she got violent, and then I said no, I'm not going to use the word violent. I would rather use the word frenzy. So that sensitive I was because I read about it. I talked to doctors. I talked to people who are going through the mental condition. So I was aware of it. That's one thing. And second thing, Director Vetrimaran was mentioning about professionals, mental health professionals in Tamil cinema, the way they are portrayed. So when I made Arohanam, Sampath's character, I wanted, generally when you see a mental health professional on screen, he is bearded and he looks weird, I wanted a very young, smart, young man there, That was the first thing. That's why I said, okay, let me ask Sampath. And then I wanted him to be normal like any of us. So that's why he goes to the bar and has a drink and dances with everyone. And then he is very warm, he's compassionate, like a normal person. He's not someone who's weird. Whenever you see a character, oh, he's a psychiatrist. Yes. I wanted to break that. So those detailing we did. And basically, I feel I knew the seriousness of it. Being a person who has gone through these experiences, I knew how important it is for me, how it is going to affect me. So I was very sensitive about the people who are going to watch this film. So thousands of letters I have got after Arohanam, after House Owners also, people who have gone through this and the way they connected to the film, and so that makes me more responsible. When the reviews came out for Arohanam, people like you, I think Dr. Shanti Nambi, she also spoke about the portrayal, and all of us spoke about it. That made me more responsible. That made me realize that, okay, I'm on the right track. I think I should be, then, that awareness is created.
Yes.
I think even there is a need to sensitize reviewers. There is a need for people like Vetrimaran sir, to talk about these things to youngsters. They have to be responsible when they portray mental illness, because it's very difficult to voice it out. When I saw a very, very popular film, latest film, you mentioned the name, but I don't have the liberty to do that. So when I saw that film, I just couldn't bear to see the portrayal. And I wanted to talk about it, but I couldn't. My husband told me, no, please don't open your mouth. Enough is enough. So people who are, who have that voice, who are, I think they should sensitize both public and filmmakers, basically, to be more responsible when they portray such sensitive issues. Like what you said, you were speaking about, the need for mental health. The focus has to be there on mental health, positive mental health during this crisis time. And so these are areas which are very, very sensitive and which can actually indirectly damage. It might not be a loss to an individual, but then it creates a sort of a or stereotyping that has a very damaging effect over a period of time. I think it's time to recognize that.
Yes. Thank you, ma'am. Dr. Jaya, you have been working hard trying to educate journalists about sensitive reporting of mental health. So how do you think mental health professionals, I think Vetrimaran had a point when he said the society also has a responsibility to teach the filmmakers about mental health issues. So how do you think as mental health professionals, we also have a responsibility to educate people in the business to depict mental health in the right way, not necessarily positively. So how do you think that can be incorporated for the curriculum, or how do we go about doing it?
I think a great way of doing this has been something that you all are doing annually with the Frames of Mind, film festival, which is essentially giving more visibility and putting mental health issues out into the open. And if I may add, also these mysterious shadowy figures who are mental health professionals like yourself. I mean, we can see you. I think, it's very interesting what Mrs. Lakshmi Ramakrishnan said, and also Mr. Vetrimaran and Mr. Shankar. This whole mystery surrounding mental health as a specialty, I think that veil has to be lifted. They are highly qualified medical people providing a service to various shades of an illness which is poorly understood and very badly recognized and stigmatized in society, including by family members and even by other highly qualified professionals and policymakers. So I think there's got to be a lot more visibility given to mental health as a field. It's got to be reported by journalists in a better fashion. It's got to be portrayed in cinema, documentaries, and in social media more often. The visibility, that sort of mystery will go, I think, and there'll be a better idea that all of us go through mental health issues, at some point or the other in our lives. It's a perfectly normal way of adjusting to life or maladjusting at times. We may go through issues related to substance abuse or violence or depression ourselves. And it's completely natural and normal for many people to have a, sort of a thing like that. Normal in the sense that I don't mean like it's part of your health, but in the sense that anybody is vulnerable to this, because it's also related to our socio-political environment and our family stresses and what is going on. So any of us can, slip into a stage where we require the help of a mental health professional, and there should be no shame about it. There should be absolutely no shame about it. I think we have to normalize it and mainstream it. And I'd like to also appreciate the kind of Tamil films we are seeing around us from such sensitive and aware filmmakers. We are no more seeing a lower socioeconomic group living in an inner city area, which we used to call a slum. Andamari, how the people live there, what are their aspirations, how they look, what do they really wear? We've gone out with that lungi, the macham, the big belt, the exaggerated stereotypical Madras Bhasha bordering on comic, all that has gone out. As audiences are maturing and becoming more connected to appreciating the reality that is there around us. I think these things are coming out in film, so the audiences are maturing very well. If we can do it in the way that we portray people belonging to either the Dalit community or people of other religions and community, we're seeing them as they are rather than somebody's, sort of skewed vision of them. I think it's time that mental health professionals also are portrayed as normal people going to work every day, and those who have an issue as normal people going to them for help. Andamari normalize, I think it's the audiences are maturing and filmmakers are paying so much more attention putting in a lot of research and hard work to try and make it as realistic as possible, because the real is even more entertaining than the bizarre, exaggerated notions. I think we're learning to sort of mature as an audience and learning to appreciate and gravitate towards a higher quality of cinema. And so your time will come, rest assured.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's very encouraging, Dr. Jaya. Dr. Rangarajan, I think I would like you to talk about how mental health and mental health professionals have been misrepresented, and about the mental health training in the country, how it is,
Yeah. You see, if you look at the training itself, see, there are people who can, like you said, there's a lot of difference between psychiatrists, psychologists, psychiatric social workers, mental health nurses. See, there are so many people who are all working in the mental health field. And if you look at a psychiatrist, basically is a doctor who's undergone proper MBBS training, gone on to do post-graduation in psychological medicine, and had an exposure to various kinds of treatment processes. Not all of them are very good with psychotherapy because they don't train in psychotherapy per se, but they are trained in identifying, understanding, and treating mental health problems with medicines and with psychotherapy. So when they need psychotherapy, they go to a colleague who's trained in that psychotherapy, and that colleague gets involved. So a team starts working. When I see an ad from a psychologist, again, psychologists, I have a particular axe to grind. It's only a clinical psychologist who actually has had experience in dealing with people with mental health problems, emotional problems. But then anybody who does a basic course in counseling and psychology from an open university suddenly puts him to go as you wouldn't believe it, this is something I've seen, thought surgeon. You are in love failure, I will completely cut away the memory of that woman from your mind. So, thought surgeon who cuts off.
This is news to me. I have never heard of this before.
Oh yes, thought surgeon. And then I have another psychologist who kind of has actually put up, I am a life coach, I'm a personal trainer, and I'm trained in all kinds of psychotherapy. Now, trained in one kind of psychotherapy takes a lifetime.
Yes.
To be an expert in all kinds of psychotherapy, it's impossible. I mean, even the best psychotherapists in the world would agree that one cannot be trained in all kinds of psychotherapy. And there are very, very many different kinds of therapy which help different kinds of people. So there is so much more to being trained as a psychiatrist or a psychologist or any kind of mental health professional. So we have all these kind of people who, I think it's because there is no proper licensing or limiting authority. Anybody who feels that he can actually talk to people or listen to people or advise people, or a religious person for that matter, becomes a counselor, a psychotherapist, who starts off, puts up his board outside and ends up damaging people.
Yes.
Now, these are people who are perhaps not to be kind of, taken as proper mental health professionals at all. I mean, that's a problem here. I hope from our side, from the mental health professionals, bodies also, we need to be more watchful in kind of trying to weed out such quacks.
Yes.
Unfortunately, quacks are there everywhere. Not all movie makers are good. I mean, anybody with a camera can't make a movie.
Yes.
We all have cameras now. Everybody wants to be a movie maker.
Yeah, we may all have a lot of
Anybody
stories.
who's got a voice can't actually sing.
Movies. We all have a lot of stories, a lot of human interest stories in our practice, but we will never make.
Absolutely.
Yes. Right.
Absolutely. I mean, I've tried writing a story out of some cases, and I've miserably failed. I may be a storyteller to people, but I cannot write a story good enough to be, seen on print and published. I don't think I have the skill.
Yes.
It is interesting. When I see a movie, I sometimes think, oh my God, this guy could have made it better. But I can't make a movie like that at all.
Yes.
It
is good that we know what we are capable of and what we can't do. Just a quick question, Dr. Rangarajan, because most of the movies that we brought up for discussion today uses the theme of hypnosis. us to make people do things? I think there are a lot of mystery and myths that surround it.
Absolutely.
Do you think you can clarify that quickly?
See, hypnosis is only possible if there is a willing participant. You know, in hypnosis, you develop a rapport with your patient or the person across the table, and that person starts trusting you, and you take him through a process where he starts trusting you for simple things even. So only when that trust is established, the hypnotherapist or the hypnotist is able to take him through a whole process of hypnosis to come to a position where he can start talking about those extremely inner secrets which are buried inside, which he himself is not aware of. Now, I cannot hypnotize an unwilling person to talk. I cannot hypnotize an unwilling human being to take his shirt off. You know, the person should be willing to take his shirt off. I cannot make an unwilling person to do exactly what I want him to do. I need a person who is willing, trusting, and cooperating with me. Like I said, no, like the psychiatrist is only as good as the patient allows him to be. So I can't just simply, like, you know, the Mandrake comics, which you used to have, Phantom and Mandrake, I can't just wave a few fingers in front of you and boom, got you there, all within me. And it's just silly to kind of do. It's a caricature. It's for fun. You do it like that, but this is not real. One can't build up an entire story based upon such things. Yeah.
Yes.
So let's look at mental health professionals as ordinary human beings. That's all.
Yes. Mr. Vetrimaran, there is a question from the audience. Is it possible to make a good mental health movie which is also commercially viable?
Yes. See, I feel that this is an area of interest for everybody, and a sensibly written and also a sensibly written story that is in a way the need of that particular society will definitely work there. That's what I feel, and this is an area that needs to be written well, and definitely it will work. I strongly feel that it will work.
Okay, just one last question. Do you think these kind of sensitive issues should have, I mean, I think the censor board comes only much later when the movie is done and it goes for certification. Should the stories themselves be submitted for censorship before the movie begins?
Okay. I think this is calling for another totally different panel discussion. See, the concept of Indian censorship itself is skewed, I would say, because we don't have, see, normally the function of a censor board is to categorize a film and say, okay, this is meant for universal viewing, or this needs to have an adult guidance, or this film needs to be left for only the adults. No young minds can deal with it. But here in India, we try to say that no, you remove all these things so that everybody can watch the film. I don't want everybody to watch my films. Most of my films, I don't want my daughter to watch it. She's just 11 years old and my son is just 5 years old. Let them become 20, 21, 22. If they like at that point, they can watch the film. So I don't intend everyone to watch my films. Why would they be concerned about everybody watching my films? I know it's something to be that way. And if you are going to send the scripts to the censorship board, there's another level of what to say, a failed system. It will lead to another failed system, which I'm not very I mean, I wouldn't appreciate something like that happening.
I'm with you there, Mr. Vetrimaran. I'm a strong believer in complete freedom to the media. Speculation. And Dr. Mangala, it's not a censor board, it's a certification board. And Mr. Vetrimaran was trying to explain that. So it's the Central Board of Film Certifications, where you essentially grade the film according to the appropriate level of audiences.
Okay.
So the idea is that self-regulation, whether it's the journalism world or whether it's film, have to do that. But where I think it would really help is to have the expert guidance of somebody, consult with somebody, a mental health professional when you're doing the script, so that you make sure you get your facts right and go and spend some time. I'm sure doubtless Mrs. Lakshmi must have done that, sort of gotten familiar with it, get your feet wet a little, immerse yourself, and then that will reflect in the quality of the product.
Okay, thank you. I think, Lakshmi ma'am, I think I would like to take one final comment from you and we can close. What do you suggest is the best way to try and incorporate mental health as part of the curriculum for the future filmmakers?
Exactly what doctor said now, Dr. Jaya was mentioning, self-regulatory. That's what it works. And creating awareness, yes, that's very, very important. And people who have the voice, people who are influential should come out and talk about this. And I think what you're doing now is the right way to approach. I remember the first short film I made was For Frame of Mind.
Yeah.
So that sensitivity, it was created from that time, like for this particular area. So when you understand that, then you apply that to many things. I remember when I made House Owner and Mr. Vetrimaran saw the film, there was one dialogue which I had missed out. There is one dialogue when the guy says, I won't marry her if I'm not beautiful. So Mr. Vetrimaran told me, why don't you remove that dialogue? It's not that sensitive. Like it's not that, it's a very sensitive area and you shouldn't have that dialogue. And then it struck me, yes, how did I miss that? So you need someone to, sometimes you miss out,
Yeah.
So you apply that to various things, you become more sensitive to other people's, how they look at the film. And there is films are not just for entertainment. That's what I firmly believe.
Yes.
So that's the basic point, I feel.
Thank you so much. I think just to summarize all that we have discussed so far, definitely there is a collective responsibility of mental health professionals, filmmakers, and the society to look at how mental health and mental health professionals are viewed. And there is no such thing as bad film or a good film. It is any film that makes an impact in the minds of the audience. That is an important film. So that way, using movies to raise awareness about mental health is a great way forward. It can increase people's understanding and it can pave way for better help-seeking patterns. And if that can happen through good films, I think we are all very happy. So it was a great time talking to all of you, and thank you very much for being a part of this panel. And please stay on to participate in and please watch the valedictory function. We will move on to the valedictory function now. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you.
A pleasure.
Thank you, sir.
Dr. I think Mr. Rajiv Menon joined. I don't think we invited.
Yes. Yeah. No, he is waiting for the valedictory to begin.
Hi, Rajiv.
Okay, and hi to everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Jaya.
It was lovely talking to all of you.
Okay. Bye, everybody. Have a good time.
Bye.
Bye.
So I think we have reached the last session of the day. May I request, and welcome to Frame of Mind, though virtually. May I request Dr. Tara to please introduce our chief guest. I don't think he needs an introduction, but still, let's do the honors.
Yes, so good evening and hi, Rajiv.
Hi.
So I have a great pleasure in not introducing Rajiv Menon, I'm sure all of you know him. But welcoming him, my very dear friend of many, many years. And all of you know him as a cinematographer par excellence. You know, you've got Bombay, you've got Guru, and many such films. You know him as a film director and a producer. But there are some other things about him that I'm going to tell you now that you may not quite know. Don't panic, Rajiv. Okay. One is that he's a music buff. He's an excellent singer himself, and especially Carnatic music. Some of you may know that his mother, the Srimati Kalyani Menon herself, is a very renowned singer. So it kind of runs in the family. But I have heard him sing many, many times, and you should also all try to hear him sing as well. He is also a very voracious reader of books. Sometimes kinds of names of some of the books that he mentions is quite mind-boggling, and therefore he is a repository of knowledge in many, many spheres, and therefore a very daunting conversationalist, if I may put it so. But more importantly so, in today's context, he knows a lot of mental health. He understands mental health. He likes mental health, I think. In the early years of SCARF, he made a beautiful film for us called Understanding Schizophrenia, which depicted the symptoms of schizophrenia exceedingly well. So we still use it for teaching purposes. Therefore, I can't really think of a better 100% fit Rajiv, this mix of films and mental health. So I think you are indeed eminently suited to be the chief guest for today's evening. And therefore, welcome again and have a good time. Right.
Thank you, madam. I think it's time now to move on to the report on Frame of Mind 2020. Shruti, can I have the slides, please? So this is the 9th edition of Frame of Mind, and Shruti, should I wait or shall I carry on? Yeah. So this 9th edition of Frame of Mind is the first one that has gone online, and so that's a big new thing for us. And this is the first time we have not had a feature film screening. Instead, we have had just 2 panel discussions, one yesterday and one today. And so there were a lot of queries from people about why we didn't screen movies. Maybe we will think about it next time if we have to go virtual. The contest entries this time, no, we had, Shruti, I'm not getting the PowerPoint. Okay, so the theme for this year's contest was coping with the new normal, mental health during the COVID times. That was the theme. And between September, when we announced, and October, we received about, in a span of 30 to 35 days, we received about 100 entries, which in itself was which was a big achievement as far as we are concerned. I think I should thank Shruti, my colleague, who was responsible for the dissemination of information and getting all those entries for us. Yeah, please move on. Can you move to the next slide, please? So of the 100 entries, we had 28 international entries and 72 from India. And we had more than 6 or 7 entries each from Spain, France, and Iran. And we had 1 each from different parts of the world. And some of them were first time entries into Frame of Mind. And we were so happy that we have really become known in so many countries. In India, this time it was completely different from what we usually have. we get majority of our entries from our own state, from Chennai and from other parts of Tamil Nadu. But sadly, we just had very few entries, probably 4 or 5 from Chennai city and none from outside the city. And we had new entries from West Bengal, Andhra Pradesh, and Jharkhand, Karnataka. Karnataka, we used to get entries quite often. Yes, next slide, please. So we received 100 entries, of which only 80 qualified because we had about 20 films which were beyond the time limit. And from that, 2 rounds of pre-jury, we had to screen, no, please go back. We had to shortlist about 35 entries and 13 were selected for the jury. Yes. So, and here I have to thank the pre-jury members, people who helped us in shortlisting. And the previous slide, Shruti. Oh, I'm sorry. I think I skipped. Okay. So we had Mr. Chandramouli, a senior journalist. Hanisha and Chiranjeevi are mental health professionals with a background in visual communication. And Mridula, Susi, and Sai Prasad from the film industry. Mridula is a documentary filmmaker. Susi Siddharth is an upcoming filmmaker. He's currently an assistant director. And Sai Prasad is a cinematographer who has made films on his own. So these were the people who helped us in shortlisting the films. I'm sorry, please go back to the previous slide. Yes. So just a quick report on the type of films we had. We had everything that one can ask for. There were movies which were completely fiction. We had musicals, we had animation, puppetry. We had a few documentaries, and there were a few films which were just slideshows. And there were some talk videos and 3 or 4 abstract films, some of which you have seen in the past couple of days. Interestingly, we had some people who had submitted multiple entries, which is not very common. We have never had that before. There were people who have sent probably 3 or 4 videos, maximum of 3 videos. I think the lockdown has definitely they have found time to do more films because of the lockdown. And what was very noticeable was most of the entries were from professional filmmakers. Only 11 students had participated. And the number of women participants was reduced to 10. Usually we have a slightly bigger number. And what was very interesting is most movies, they stuck to the theme. There was no movies on serious mental illnesses. Actually, there was only one movie which was showing OCD, but then it was a movie specifically made for that and not on the theme that we had given. Sadly, humor was not found in most movies. Humor was almost missing, except probably in the film we just saw today, Back from the Future. Most of the portrayals were very positive. We rejected only one film for a negative portrayal, or the other reasons why we rejected were very different. So that was very, very encouraging for us, because we generally get to see a lot of negative portrayal despite guidelines for the festival. And the other things is counseling, staying connected, and help seeking for mental health issues figured in almost all the films, which was very, very encouraging for us. I think we had definitely conveyed what Frame of Mind was looking for. But children were conspicuously absent. There was only one film which touched upon children and elderly people, the one we watched today, Mohan Tata. And 2 other films, they just touched the problems that are faced by children on the side. But I think with a good number of entries, I think the jury also had an interesting time trying to finalize the winners. So I think this is our eminent jury. And I would request Dr. Mitchell Weiss, the chairperson of Frame of Mind, to please give his perspective, the jury's perspective, and announce the results.
Well, thank you, Dr. Mangala. I'd like to begin by saying how pleased I have been over the years since 2006 to be associated with Frame of Mind, because of the way that it does meet the social responsibility of trying to alert filmmakers and help filmmakers better address issues of mental health. In the deliberations of the jury this year, we had 4 criteria that we had used as a way of distinguishing the various films and selecting the winners from it. We wanted to make sure that number one, that they were relevant to the topic and that they met the criteria that you have just outlined. So topical relevance was one issue. Second, we were interested in the coherence of it. Was it possible for viewers to follow the story and understand what it was they wanted to portray, what the filmmakers were portraying in a comprehensible way? So coherent organization. Third was the question of technical competence or innovation, as well as artistic excellence. Had they put it together with the appropriate skills and to make a point. And then finally, of course, was the question of overall compelling impact. Did it enable the audience to think about the issues that were relevant in a useful way, or did it touch people emotionally in a productive way in order to get across the worthwhile message that was the intention of the film? And so with that in mind, we had a very interesting and useful session. It was a privilege for me to be able to participate with the other members of the jury whom you've already identified. And we came up with, there were, the first and second prize were clear. There were 2 ties for the third prize. And there was also a film that we identified and selected for honorable mention. I'd like to present those 3 films, the honorable mention film, and then the 2 that were awarded the third prize. And then our chief guest, Rajiv Menon, will introduce the first 2. So the film that was selected for honorable mention presented a kind of whimsical portrayal of what it is that many people have been feeling during this period of lockdown. And the film is called Dat Segit. Mangla, I don't know if you want to screen that now and then we go to the other 3, or should I mention the...
I think you can mention the 3 films, sir, and then we can have the screening together.
Okay, fine. And then the 2 one of the 2 films that was in a tie for the third place was called Connected. And the second film that was tied for the third place was called Far From Home. And again, both of these portraying issues, emotional experiences, and the reality and experience during the pandemic. So perhaps we can screen those 3 now.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir. It has been wonderful having you with us in Frame of Mind.
Great pleasure for me. Thank you.
India has announced it is banning all flights from midnight.
Australians overseas are this morning scrambling to come home as authorities prepare to shut the country's borders in just over 12 hours' time.
As the Indian Minister for External Affairs said, extraordinary times call for extraordinary measures.
For the first time in a century, the Queensland border is closed.
We have seen Qantas cut back 90% of their international routes.
Growing unemployment has quickly exposed the plight of overseas students, many of them jobless, owing rent and thousands in tuition fees. As Tom Saker reports, they've been among the first to lose their casual jobs, but aren't in line for government support.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम मम्मी, आप कैसी हैं? हाँ, वो कह रहे हैं कि अब आप अपने अपने मुल्क वापस चले जाएं क्योंकि वो यहाँ पे बॉर्डर्स बंद कर रहे हैं। जी अम्मी, आप ठीक कह रही हैं, बट लेकिन पाकिस्तान में भी तो अपने बॉर्डर बंद किए हुए हैं। आप रुकिए, मैं दोबारा चेक करता हूँ। नहीं अम्मी, ये कह रहे हैं कि the borders might take 1 year
or it can take 6 মাস or সারা জীবন। I don't know. Although ও বাংলাদেশে থাকা এখান থেকে বেটার ছিল।
I can understand your pain, sir. I know this is an inconvenience.
So if there are no refunds available, can I at least get like another flight?
No, sir. Sorry.
Are there any other flights that are scheduled to leave?
There are no flights available, sir. Borders are closed for most countries. Sir, border के उस पार कोई जा ही नहीं सकता. You cannot cross the border, sir. I'm really sorry.
I guess we are stuck.
But we don't have to be.
Life itself is a prodigy. It can surprise you in the least expected ways. It empties you. It creates self-doubt.
Speculation is growing in India that the 3-week nationwide shutdown due to end tomorrow will be extended.
The world's largest lockdown of 21 days. But a study by Cambridge mathematicians suggests the 3-week restrictions may not be enough to contain the novel coronavirus.
Life can make you feel pain. It can make you feel plain.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله.
Life can haunt you. It can taunt you as well. The lonely, monotonous days can make you lose your ways. But remember, even this moves on.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله.
You will soon start finding the other side. The side that gives you an upward slide. You will see the colors and smile at its powers. You will see the doors open, and there your life moves to reopen. You will see the flowers blooming. You will see the growth ruling.
أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله.
You will feel the union of hearts as this prayer connects together the parts.
May I now request you, sir, Mr. Rajiv Menon, to please, you can either speak first and then announce the first two prizes, or you can announce the prizes and then speak. Either way.
I think I'll take over from Dr. Michelle Weiss and continue with the award presentation. And the second prize goes to La Patrida by David Moore. He's from Madrid, Spain. And it sort of deals with a kind of a film which is about young David, who used to play Ludo with his grandma. And now, since she has corona, he can't really be, he has to play via Zoom, and then he has to deal with the issue of impending separation, death, victory of a game, and the kind of relationship that you have with your grandparents, and the kind of It's a very sweet little film, and that's the second prize winner. I think we should see that now.
So I think it would be easier for them to show both the films one after the other. So you can go ahead and announce the
Okay.
first.
So the second place was for La Patrida by David Mora. He's from Madrid, Spain. And the first place goes to a wonderful film called Sandhya by Tejasvi Kanga. And this is from Mumbai, India. And it deals with the issue of migrant labor, domestic labor, people who are separated from their families and are finding it difficult to go back, and their only source of communication, their sense of isolation and being trapped, and yet taking care of people, yet feeling so vulnerable and anxious during that period, is a really wonderful film. And my congratulations to Tejasvi Kanga. And I think these are universal stories of the relationship between grandparents and grandchildren in times of COVID, and also about domestic help and people who do so much for you and yet are in living in your houses but feeling so lonely and separated from their loved ones at the same time. So I think two wonderful films, and I think we should see them.
Pues ya está. Tú los azules y yo los verdes. Empezamos. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, me comiste. 5. 51. Venga, abuela. Vale, me toca. O te pones las pilas o te voy a ganar, ¿eh? Te toca. Venga, abuela, ¿qué? Que te quedas atrás. 6. Ya está, tienes salvada. Me toca. 6. 4. Casi. 3. No, me comiste. A casa. Te cuentas 20. Te metes en casa. Ya estás casi en la meta con eso. Venga, esta la tienes salvada. A ver. Hace buen día. Del 45 al 65. No me intentes estimar. Otra en casa. Ya tienes en la meta esa. Te cuentas 10. Con esa metes peli. Abro puente y me cuento 20. Qué suerte, abuela. 5. Venga, abuela, aguanta un poco más, ¿eh? Que ya llegas a la meta. Un 3. Abuela, estás a falta de un 3. Te cojo la mano. ¿Vale? Venga, 1. 2. Has ganado, abuela. Es un 3. Es un 3. Ya estás en la meta.
It's a beautiful film. It's a touching film. I think we should see the...
Yeah, I think we can play the first prize film, Sandhya.
Yeah.
Shruti, is there a problem, Shruti?
Yes, ma'am. I think in 5 minutes we'll be able to.
बरसों में काहे विदेश, बरसों में काहे विदेश, बुलाए है रे बिटिया को बाबू, जाऊंगी मैं अपने देश, मैं अपने देश।
कैसे मैं आऊँ रे देश, बता दे रे बाबुल मोरे, कैसे मैं आऊँ रे देश। पेड़ों की डाली पे सखियां चढ़ी है, अम्बुआ के रसवा की लागी झड़ी है, और मैं बंधी परदेस। बता दे रे बाबुल मोरे, कैसे मैं आऊँ रे देश। जेठ के महीने में धान रोपाती, महुआ के फूलों की धार बनाती, पर मैं बंधी परदेस। बता दे रे बाबुल मोरे, कैसे मैं आऊँ रे देश। जंगल की लकड़ी से चूल्हा जलाती, दाल भात तरकारी पकाती, पर मैं बंधी परदेस। बता दे रे बाबुल मोरे, कैसे मैं आऊँ रे देश। माई की गोदी का करके बिछौना, तारों की झुरमुट में मुझको था सोना, क्यों मैं बंधी परदेस। बता दे रे बाबुल मोरे, कैसे मैं आऊँ रे देश। आषाढ़ की बारिश में मिलके नहाते, धान के खेतों में हल हम चलाते, पर मैं बंधी परदेस। बता दे रे बाबुल मोरे, कैसे मैं आऊँ रे देश। गाँव के सपने धरे रह गए हैं, आने के साधन खड़े रह गए हैं, हूँ मैं बंधी परदेस। बता दे रे बाबुल मोरे, कैसे मैं आऊँ रे देश। जाने कहाँ से कोरोना है आई, अब पहले उसकी करूँ मैं बिदाई, फिर छोड़ू परदेस। बताऊँ मैं बाबुल तोहे, फिर लौटूंगी देश। बताओ मैं बाबुल तोहे, फिर लौटूंगी देश।
So, congratulations once again to Tejasvi Kang and his group. Tejasvi has done a wonderful job because he's made the story much larger about migrant workers all over India, and I think it's wonderful. And even the language used and the reference to mahua tree and the land that she has left behind is very touching and very moving and very beautifully shot in that tight space and very intimate too. Absolutely fantastic and a great job, and congratulations.
So we would like to hear from you about, actually, I think you were interested in knowing the theme of the panel discussion as well. So maybe we should hear from you about that.
Yeah. I think as I was listening in while this panel discussion was going on, and it's something that one has always thought about, and I mean in various forums spoken with Dr. Tara, and I'm in awe of SCARF and the entire team at SCARF, Dr. Tara, Dr. Mangla, and all of you at Team SCARF for pulling off this film festival on mental health issues for so many years, and especially Frame of Mind 2020 becomes even more relevant, because I don't think we have seen something as exceptional as a pandemic in our known memories. I mean, even somebody like me who's a kind of a junkie for various trivia and who studies quizzes and things like that, I too had this vague idea of the Spanish flu, basically from Malcolm Gladwell's book and things like that. But it's not that one studied about it in the history textbooks when so many people had actually died during the pandemic in the early part of the century. So our collective memory, we want to forget certain things. We remember the World War, we remember the World War I and II in great detail, but not this. So when something like this lands up in front of us, the toll it takes on people is huge. And there has been a dramatic rise in mental health problems and people seeking mental health officially. And even in states where mental health issues are fairly well established and understood, the number of suicides have dramatically increased. And this sort of brings to light what is the issue in point here. How many people can get access to mental health in India, and how many people don't want to get access? So with so few psychiatrists for such a large population, it is virtually impossible in smaller towns and villages for people to have access to a psychiatrist. So that I think is a huge problem in our country. But I think what we are dealing with here is the issue of how media portrays it. And nothing could have been more obvious than, when you think that people who are successful, people who are famous, people who are good looking, people who have everything, who are rich, they don't have such problems, was most highlighted during the very unfortunate suicide and death of a famous Bollywood star. And Sushant Singh Rajput had a huge history of mental illness. And what followed after that was so many hours of, television was wasted on issues such as, say some friends or some random people being called and said, look at this, look at it. He's exercising. Do you think he was depressed? Do you tell me, was he depressed? So it was like some mob mentality deciding on whether somebody is having depression or not. He had met 5 psychiatrists. He was obviously having some issues. So instead of sensitizing people on this, on one level, the news is continuously feeding you information that the number of deaths are increasing, So man is huddled up and in survival mode, just, waiting to somehow stay alive and, all that. And then there is this whole information that keep washing your hands. So some kind of obsessive neurosis you're all going through, washing it 101 times, And then you said, wear mask. So of course, this is real information which is going out, which is really useful. But at the same time, very little is told that, well, this too shall pass and this too she shall overcome. And the sun rises even after the worst night of storm, the sun is going to rise. And that kind of approach or, regular, time being given to psychiatrists to have decimated information to the people, not only about their physical safety and the safety from the pandemic, but it's also about their mental well-being. And it slowly started coming into the media by maybe by June, July, that people were recognizing that this is actually taking a serious toll on people's mental health. Now, if media is doing such a disservice, then the film industry is also capable of doing crazy things. And what has happened in some ways is that films, I mean, we all know, have some basic plots, and one of the primal plots which drive narratives, and especially big Hollywood narratives or big commercial films, is survival on one side, and then the other is man versus man. I mean, of course, love stories also come to play. So whenever you say that there is some action that you did and that causes somebody to react, and that's why somebody is a villain, and you're then completely fascinated that what if somebody came and just killed you for no reason? And this has given rise to this whole cult of serial killers. I mean, from the 80s onwards, the time the word was created, from sequence killers to serial killers, this has really spawned a subgenre. And in literature and in films, you see certain genres going up and certain genres declining. And one of the genres which declined is the detective genre of the private eye going ahead and finding out an incredible truth. This is a genre which has disappeared. In fact, from film, mainstream cinema, romantic comedies have become a rarity in the West. I mean, the last probably a great romantic comedy coming out in English cinema was probably 8 to 10 years back. So I realize that things can go up and down, but by feeding into this thing that for no reason somebody can come and kill you, A, it increases anxiety. B, in America, it increases the dependence on people to saying that I must go and buy a gun. Because I don't know which psycho is going to come and kill me, so I need to have a gun on my own. So it feeds into the gun lobby. It feeds into unnecessary violence. And then to make matters and twist matters further, they say that the psychiatrist itself is the villain. So now you have complicated it so much that you don't trust even the psychiatrist you need to go to. And you're living in fear. And then you don't know which normal person who's walking around is probably the cause. Now, the other issue that filmmakers as such face is that characters are what makes stories attractive. Plots are a few and they become repetitive. So characters need exposition. And so a same situation can completely become different if the character is changed and the way the character decides. And of course, the character is physically manifested by how he looks, how tall, how aggressive, or how bright or charming or fat or thin, or all these kind of factors of how short, is he a dwarf, is he a 6'7" person, so those are the factors which are physically determining the character. And then there's the psychological aspect the sociological aspect. Is he first in the class? Is he last? Is he a policeman? Is he a law-abiding person? Is he respected in society? Is he yearning for respect? Those are the other factors. But the third and most important factor is the psychological aspect. And this is where it becomes necessary to have at least rudimentary knowledge, and at least if you want to write, you must have a deeper knowledge of psychology. Because a lot of the action that you may have may not be motivated without actually understanding what this character probably went through between his first and fifth year, which then shapes a lot of his thing, or what happened to him during adolescence, which is then making him react in a certain manner. So again, we try to take situations which are extreme, which is to do with rape, death, or murder, and then we trivialize suicide. So these are kind of problem areas that we have, and as writers, as creators, it becomes imperative for us to have a sensitivity to listen, and to, if you don't have the knowledge, at least call a psychiatrist and ask him, hey, listen, I'm making a film about this. What's your view on this? And that's exactly what I did. I was making a short film where I had an issue about drug addiction. And so I contacted, the panelists, and I spoke to, and then I spoke to another specialist who's a specialist in that field of drug addiction. So I think it's very important for me, because I'm a personal friend of Mr. Rangarajan, I could call him. And after that, I could call Mr. Suresh Kumar, who could advise me further on the exact manifestations of the drug in question and what would be the recovery period and what would be the kind of treatment, and how you cannot just say you can pop some pills and get done. So even though you have Google and 101 other things, don't trust Google, because a lot of the articles are fake. Please call your friend. If you have a friend like Dr. Rangarajan, just call him and then ask him, and then he would probably guide you to somebody else who is even more specific about that particular drug. So I think that is imperative for most filmmakers to do it, not because of anything else. Just as you want to make sure that your location is right, just as you want to make sure your sociology is right, you also want to get the psycho profile of the character right. So very often when you are making a film about, say, Army or Navy, and my father was a naval officer, and it used to greatly irritate us that, the person would be having a stripe of commander, but people be calling high captain. I mean, they don't know the difference between a commander stripe and a captain stripe. So today you have armed forces consultant who is going to tell you these kind of things and what the protocol is. So if you have a sports person, then you have a sports consultant. And I think if you're going to have anything to do with psychiatry, you can at least have the courtesy to call up a psychiatrist and ask their opinion of it, and if possible, get them to read your script. And then you would be in a position to have greater gravitas in your script, as well as not make factually something incorrect. So I think being correct is one aspect about it. And then the other aspect, which I saw in the course of the discussion, is sensitization and what kind of words to use. How offensive can your language be? And, the world is completely interconnected, and people are going to, come back and express their opinion also via Twitter. So if you are not careful on what you put out, then be prepared for the barrage. But I think it's imperative for us as filmmakers and as media professionals to respect and do this. And therefore, I really think that the effort done by SCARF in awarding people for being sensitive, just as they are sensitive to gender, LGBT issues, and things of that nature, that they are also be very importantly aware of mental health, because I think we are sitting on a mental health, epidemic right now, and we are in the number of people having anxiety and all kinds of issues are at a record high, and one does not know how. I think we need to radically increase the number of psychiatrists in our country, and also sensitize people. And I'm glad actors are coming up and speaking about it and saying that they have. You have sportsmen speaking about it. So people who are right on top of their game, telling youngsters that, hey, it's cool to come and say that you need help, is the first step. And then I guess more research will come in and probably make us understand as to why there has been such an exponential increase of anxiety amongst young people, and why can't we be more relaxed and more accepting of the vagaries that life will put in front of you. So I think on the whole, this is a great effort, and I would sincerely like to thank Dr. Michelle Weiss and the entire jury for having deliberated and awarded these prizes to these 5 films, and for the pre-jury to have sat and shortlisted and got it, and the entire backroom team at SCARF for having worked so tirelessly in publicizing, and for seeing such a wonderful participation from so many countries, and also from states such as Manipur, people making films, sending it, is really heartwarming. And I hope that in the years to come we may be able to meet in a more congenial atmosphere and sit and discuss about these things in a much more cheerful light. And well, during COVID times, you have done a great job in pulling this off. Well, congratulations to Dr. Mangla and Dr. Tara and everybody at SCARF. And thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you very much, sir. I think it was wonderful listening to you. I think your students are very lucky at your institute. You gave us a short lecture on how to develop a character, and I think now Rangarajan can seriously think of writing the story that he couldn't. So thank you very much, sir. Thank you once again for being with us. I think we have now reached the end of the show, and it's time for inviting Dr. Padmavati, the director of SCARF, to deliver the vote of thanks. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, please finish this. I'll speak later. I think before I invite Dr. Padmavati, I think Tejasvi Kang is here, and it would be wonderful to hear from him. Can we, yes, Tejasvi, please go ahead, unmute yourself and show us your face.
Hello. Hello. Hi.
Hi, hearty congratulations to you.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to win. I'm so happy you all enjoyed the film. I wasn't prepared for this, I'm sorry.
Okay, so we will just not only for you, for all the prize winners, we will send you the trophy, the certificate, and the prize money that you have won by post.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. May I now request Dr. Padmavati, Director of SCARF, to please deliver the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Mangla. I'm sure all of you who have been sitting with us the last 2 days would agree that it's been a tremendous effort in order to pull this off at a virtual level. And I think we were a little anxious before we actually planned out the whole thing, but it was really, pretty inspiring to see that, yes, we can do this as well. Let me first begin. It's always nice to have the last word when you have to say the vote of thanks. And so let me first begin with our chief guest, Mr. Rajiv Menon. A big thank you for being with us all through these years. I've never failed to hear Dr. Tara talk about it with great passion about what you have done for SCARF over the last 3.5 decades. Your address today has re-emphasized on the need for proper mental health communication, and I think that's very, very important for young filmmakers to understand and take home this single message by Mr. Menon. You've talked about, how one needs to be very optimistic and, share positive information and possibly be very responsible in getting information on the right things to say as far as mental health is concerned. The jury headed by Dr. Michelle Weiss has been a phenomenal group of people who I was present at the jury meeting when they were discussing on, what kind of films to award and when they were viewing the films for their awards. And believe me, I learned a lot. I learned not just a lot about, how the entire jury operates, but I think it was also to do with the way they have been extremely fair in the way they have come out with the prize winners. So, Dr. Weiss, We really thank you for being our mentor through these years, and we hope to continue to have have you as our mentor for the next few years, for the next many years. Especially mention Harsha, Vinodini, Lakshmi, and Raju Murugan for being on the panel. The pre-jury had, I think, great fun looking at the 35 films, and I understand from both Mangala and Shruti that they did have a great time talking about all the various films and how they had to, come down to the 13 films of the 35 that they watched. Mr. Chandramouli, Suki Sri, Siddharth, Sai Prasad, Mridula, Chiranjeevi, and Hanisha. I'm sure you all had fun, and we sure will call you again for further mental health communication. This festival would not have made and had any deep meaning if it were not for the contestants. 100 odd, submissions is, I think, a remarkable, recognition for really what it actually validates the need for mental health communication, and I think it acknowledges SCARF's role in our mission for changing public health attitudes. So thank you to all the contestants who have submitted their submissions, and a very hearty congratulations to all the winners. Mangala kept saying that we didn't screen films, right? And I think she was a little disappointed when she said, okay, I know we can't screen films and so on. But I think what really added strength to the entire two-day film festival was the panel discussions that we had yesterday and today. Yesterday's discussion on dementia, for the portrayal of how the caregiver talked about how the caregiver actually took care of her husband with dementia. I think the discussion centered around so many things related to dementia, and I think it was very if you had sat and watched the comments in the chat box yesterday, it really indicated that the message was reaching all the participants in the Office Film Festival. And of course, today's discussion again through open the doors to how mental health professionals such as me have to be really viewed by the general public, and how it is the responsibility of filmmakers to make sure that this communication is right. I thank all the panelists who are part of the discussions yesterday and today. And as one of the participants has said, it was a much needed topic. This was by Gayatri, who sent in a number of comments, but this one comment actually caught my eye. Thank you again to all the participants. Marudiswara, who has been our technical support and has offered the platform to us. Again, thank you so much for making it go through without any kind of hitch and has been with us for the past 2 days. All the guests who have registered, I think when we do have our, in the conventional manner, when we have our film festival, sometimes it's like really several anxious moments are spent to, we're waiting, oh, will there be an audience? Will people fill up the hall and so on and so forth? But it was very nice today to see on both the days we had a huge number of people logging in, and it really made sense that we did have this festival this year despite the pandemic situation. Mangala and Shruti. Mangala, whose brainwave this whole film festival of going virtual, I mean, she is really very persistent in her, in saying that no, we should go and have it. And I think she was also responsible for thinking up of both the topics for the 2 days. So Mangala, hearty congratulations. You've done a great job. And Shruti, in her own silent, quiet ways, has been an enormous support for taking care of all the technical details. And I must tell you that Shruti, over the last few weeks, I've learned a lot of technical details from you regarding communication. So thank you. The administrative support by Subhashini has again been tremendous, especially in, giving out the information about this, sending out links. She's been very, very persistent, and she's also been reminding people today to join again for the second day. So thank you again, Subhashini. So overall, I think this has been a very wonderful 2-day sessions. And thanks to one and all for participating. We are not yet out of the woods. So I would urge you all to stay safe till this corona actually comes to a conclusion. Thank you once again.
Thank you very much, madam. I think you missed thanking the COVID virus. I think but for the virus, we would not have gone virtual, and we would not have understood our potential of reaching out to more people online. And I think the discussion on mental health has definitely increased thanks to the COVID and the lockdown. So that is also a part of our vote of thanks. So see you all. We are waiting to see you all in person 2 years from now in 2022. And we hope things are better by then. So thank you very much for all your participation. Good night and stay safe.